Alright, so we're just playing a little bit of Final Fantasy 14 online. It's on the PS4, the base PS4. This is a KILL-DILL, little discussional topic, I guess. That's a word, I don't know. But huge news in gaming. It's 2022 January, and Xbox impending acquisition of Activision slash Blizzard for almost $70 billion with a B, billion with a B, 70. And basically a power move on Microsoft's part to just take over the third party game and lock down Call of Duty for the foreseeable future. I mean, the immediate response from PlayStation right out the gate was basically CEO talk for hope you keep our pre-existing agreements and honor them. You know, that's what Sony addressed to Microsoft, you know, and Microsoft assured they will, but it's not gotta sit well with PlayStation users. I mean, that's something Sony's been lacking in that department. Their first party titles obviously are on a different level. They've been like that since I guess, you know, the PS3 era really is where they tightened that up. You know, they Infamous, God of War 3, you know, Metal Gear, even if you want Metal Gear 4 for sure, Killzone, Uncharted. So they started building that wheel then, you know, with some successes and some failures. But now that they're in a position where their first party titles are going to have to really strengthen in the shooter genre, because they've been banking all this time on Call of Duty, you know, with exclusivity deals with maps and map packs of DLC, whatever, timed exclusives. You know, there was early competition in a way, you know, when they tried to quote unquote make a Halo killer with Killzone 2, the push for that, the push for the Resistance. You know, and these games all got decent reviews and did well enough, but not the numbers Sony wanted when compared to Call of Duty. So for them financially, the only reason they'd be doing it in a way would be fan service. But now they kind of shot themselves in the foot because they've been lacking. You know, they've been putting all their chips in on the you know, the more single player oriented action adventure narrative driven story like God of War or Horizon. You know, even though it's open world, just a lot of replay value, just still not much multiplayer. I mean, Last of Us is a multiplayer to an extent, but that's not being cultivated by them and being pushed like that. It's, you know, there's been rumors, I guess not speculation, I don't know for rumors, but the studio, a couple people from Rainbow Six and I believe Guerrilla are working on a shooter for Sony. You know, some speculate it could be a new Killzone or SOCOM, which that's my starting thing with SOCOM. So I would love to see that, but definitely not gonna hold my breath, considering Sony in the PS3 era, when they tried to push for the SOCOM 4 before they defunct Zipper, they just basically tried to do a Call of Duty clone. So it showed you their lack of you know, I guess after Killzone and they didn't see the numbers they wanted, they just really didn't want to. I mean, even though they came out with more Killzones, still they changed, or you could tell there's a directive of make it similar to this Call of Duty, you know, from whoever was in charge, because that's what they tried to do and it didn't work, obviously. Now when they you know, worked on Killzone 2 and it came out on its own legs and had its own feeling, I mean, yeah, it wasn't as great as Halo in a way, and it doing Call of Duty numbers, but it still had a fan base. It still sold well enough to where it permitted sequels. But Sony just, you know, they gave up on that one as well with the early PS4 and with the launch of the Shadowfall, the last Killzone, before they basically switched Guerrilla to the initiative of making single-player games with Horizon. So it's funny because Sony's now in a position where they're forced to do something. They're not really forced, but they should, and they kind of are actually, to see what they can do in that genre, because now there's a void on their system. I mean, they're gonna have Fortnite and Apex and, you know, but and I guess Battlefield, but they're not gonna be the premier console with all the modern third-party Call of Duty shooters. They're just not gonna have it. I know that's a fact. I mean, why else would Microsoft spend $70 billion, biggest acquisition ever, and not want exclusivity for their machine and their brand? So, you know, Sony's in this awkward position where the first response is seemingly a week going on, you know, from what I see. You know, honor our pre-existing deals. You know, we want to milk Call of Duty as long as we can because we don't have anything. I mean, and I guess they might have this project working in the background, but they haven't been pushing for it. There's no hype behind it. There's, you know, there's whispers around corners, and that's it. You know, you got old SOCOM fans thinking it might be a new SOCOM, clamoring for that, or Killzone fans, you know. And strange twist, you know, you have a group like PS1, the group that's turned on all these servers for these old PS3 exclusive, some of them shooters like SOCOM, Confrontation, and Killzone 2. You know, people are playing them, you know, not much, but there's still a sliver of people holding on. And now you have this this blow just dealt by Microsoft to Sony to just, you know, light a fire under them and say, hey, what are you going to do with your shooters now? Because you're not going to have as many as us. You're not going to have the ones that matter. I mean, you might have a few, but it's not a good look. You know, the brand shift will change the Xbox, you know, because casual gamers, they are the voice. They're the majority in a way, you know. So if they're telling their friends, hey, I want to play Call of Duty, and they can't play it on PlayStation because there's automatically, well, they don't own it anymore. They don't have, and they never owned it, but they didn't. Now they won't have access to it. Just what's out, and that's it. You know, who's to say that Warzone's not going to get discontinued when they come out with a Warzone 2 or an update for it, and render it useless after the 20, I think it's in June 2023 the deal goes through. So, you know, if they want to flip the switch, because people are still going to be playing PS4s, people are still going to be buying PS5s and all of that, but it's definitely going to shift the sales and the branding, the name, the household name will be Xbox associated with Call of Duty. That's just plain and simple. That's coming. I wouldn't see them spending that amount of money for any other feasible reason. So, what are you gonna do, Sony? Are you gonna double down and go back to your old days of trying to push games like MAG and just crazy, probably spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these projects, even if they might fail or they might not do the great numbers you want in the beginning? Are you gonna try to cultivate those old fan bases and create new IPs, you know, some new shooter that's going to push the envelope, you know, in ways like Killzone did and Resistance? You know, it just, they were very close to starting to craft something very equal to Halo in my eyes. You know, maybe not, you know, exactly the route they should have went, trying to compete directly with another shooter. Maybe just try to carve out their own genre in a way. Maybe a really hardcore tactical shooter, the experience you can only get on a PlayStation consoles, you know, something that just solidifies a branding like a Kratos with a God of War or a Nathan Drake with Uncharted. You know, they can do that. They've done it before. They obviously the timing of Call of Duty's success cast a shadow on games like Killzone 2 and there are other decent shooters, you know, even the shooting mechanics in Uncharted, the multiplayer. So It's interesting because from a gaming standpoint, from a gamer, I would love to see that. Even a new IP, just something they put their creative efforts and money into, and the same creative freedom they give someone like Hideo Kojima with Death Stranding, they could give to a new team or an old team, pre-existing team, whatever, and say, hey, and if they're doing that already and it's just under wraps, now's the time to, I would say, try to create some hype around that, garnish some hype, like they did for the giant presentations they would do at E3 for MAG and things like that. I mean, I know the industry's changed overall, but just from a branding standpoint, Xbox only having Call of Duty in the future, which is closer than most people will realize, it's going to shift the household name from people just associating Call of Duty on PS4 or PlayStation consoles. 120 million PlayStation 4s out there in the wild, and eventually they're going to be left with an obsolete version of Call of Duty or none at all. Who knows? So, I mean, they're going to honor their deals and keep what's on there, I guess, but people move on quick. They want the new thing, even if it's, an annual Call of Duty that just churns out like a Madden or a basketball game. It's interesting because Sony's really, like I said, they got their back against the wall when it comes to this shooter thing. I mean, they can push for Spider-Man and all these exclusive games they got, and still have that market, but eventually that model is not going to compete. They're just going to have to either admit that they're lacking in that realm, and that's just what it is. Because even when Call of Duty was still doing the numbers it was doing, Xbox never faltered with making their Halos or their Gears of Wars, even if they weren't selling like they used to, or even if they weren't praised and critically acclaimed as the originals. They still made sure they kept with it and updated them, and they've done above and beyond with those franchises as far as supporting them after their heyday, when Sony has just abandoned theirs and just cut their losses, even if sometimes it wasn't even that much of a loss. So I don't know. That's basically all I had to say about that.